Good morning. Happy Monday to everybody. This is Mornings with Michael for information and educational purposes only, sometimes entertainment. So let's get to our screens. It's been an ugly morning, to say the least. And here we go. Most of tech is down pretty strong. Financials mostly positive. Tesla is down 4.5%. With the rest of the big cap tech. We got Walmart had some pretty good earnings, so they're up a little over 3%. Eli Lilly is down, and energy is kind of mixed. Utilities and basic materials are up, so that's we got there. And if you want to avoid days like these, we'll just share our screen. Recommend that 85 to 90% of people be in an annuity. You can sleep better at night knowing that you're not going to lose any money. Goes up a step, does not come back down. Goes up another step, doesn't come back down. And it beats index investing by about 5%. The index is bob and weave. And this is the story with annuities. If you have any more questions, feel free to send us a comment. Let's go to our screens. Elf Beauty is down slightly past the 10-day moving average. Things were down worse earlier in the morning. Let's take a look at the US dollar. The dollar is gapping down, fell to its 20-day moving average, this green line over here, and now it's trying to bounce. It's off just 5 cents for the day. Take a look at Ethereum. For some reason, the charts weren't working on Yahoo Finance, but Ethereum tried to move higher and is pulling back. It's up. It's amazing. It's up about 4%. It was down a little earlier, and Bitcoin was down. It had pulled back to 50,000. Not sure if it's quite filled the gap here, but we had kind of predicted it would pull back into the $50,000 area. We'll just kind of see if pulls back any more. Silver. We got a gap down on silver from Friday, down 1.24. Gold is actually gapping up today. It's amazing. A little diversion from the two there. Look at our copper. Copper sold off, gap down on the open, and I was bouncing off the 50-day moving average. Southern Copper gapping down pretty hard as well. Freeport McMoran. Yeah, that's a big gap down. Didn't even really fill the other gap. So let's go to Vale. Vale is down pretty hard. BHP down pretty hard as well. And Rio. Rio falls to the 200-day. Let's take a look at uranium. Uranium is pulling back. DNN. We had sold this at, I believe, 204. And it's got a pretty strong pullback now. So that's down a little over 5% today. Let's go to our Treasury bond yields. They're falling. Looks like they're filling the gap up up on Friday. It's down to 4.257. 20-year bonds. Looks like they're pulling back as well. There was a slight gap, I believe, on Friday, and it looks like it's filling that gap as well. VIX moved up quite a bit and then pulled back again. It is near its high of the day. It's gapping up, so I would think that this gap fills. We have another gap down here, so we'll just kind of have to wait and see what the S&P 500 does. IWM was the worst performer. It's not down that bad, although it did gap down from Friday. It's down 1.6%. It did hit our targets. Let's see where I put our targets. Amazing in one day. 199.35 was the target, and it's at 198.43. Dow Jones, our target was 383.58. Let's see where that got to. 384.54. Got close, but no cigar. S&P 500. It's at 495.12. Our target on the S&P was 493.59. Didn't expect to hit it in one day, but and the NASDAQ is down 1.43%, down to its 20-day moving average. We'll see if it pulls back to its 50-day. 50-day is right about 416. Our NASDAQ was pretty far down there at 409.60. So let's take a look at the equal weight. Down a little less than the NASDAQ at 1.11, and the equal weight on the S&P is down 0.38, less than the, take the big cap tech out of there, and you can see they fall down a little less. So let's go to the news. World news, foreign holdings of U.S. Treasury soared to another all-time peak in December. Data from the Treasury Department showed rising for a second straight month. Holdings of U.S. Treasuries rose to 8.06 trillion in December from what was then recorded a high of 7.808 trillion in November. So let's go to our sector news. DoorDash, Q4 EPS loss 39 cents versus estimate of 16-cent loss, and they're gapping down to their 20-day moving average on that news. DraftKings, Q4 EPS 29 cents versus 8 cents. People were expecting much more. It had risen quite a bit, so its valuation was getting up there. It's off a little over 7%. Their earnings came in at 307%, nearly a 35% earnings surprise. Texas Roadhouse, Q4 EPS $1.08 versus $1.06. Their stock is off slightly, 0.5%. Energy is Bloom Energy. Q4 EPS is 2 cents versus 11-cent estimate, and they're diving down about 11%. ENI, SPA shares dropped after fourth quarter profit in line. They don't really have a ticker symbol for that here. SunPower downgraded to sell from neutral at Guggenheim after rescue financing, and is down another 1.5% on the financials. Coinbase, Q4 EPS $1.04 versus flat, and they're filling the gap, definitely down 8%. Digital Realty, Q4 core FFO, $1.63 versus $1.64, and they continue their dive. Open Door Technologies and Real Estate, Q4 EBITDA 69 million loss versus estimate of 95.74, and they continue their dive. Tangier, Q4 FFO a share of 52 cents versus 50 cents. They're actually up on this news. Toast authorizes up to $250 million share repurchase program, taking advantage of the sweet shares here. Q4 adjusted EBITDA 29 million versus estimate of 13.85 million, and shares are off today. They gapped up on their earnings on Friday, and they're pulling back here, although they are at the high for the day. Healthcare. Pleasanton, California company, 10x Genomics, Q4 EPS 41-cent loss versus a 36-cent loss estimate, and their shares are diving on that news, down nearly 4%. AMN Healthcare, Q4 adjusted EPS $1.32 versus $1.25. They beat estimates, but they're diving. Their earnings came in at negative 47% from the previous quarter. Biorad Labs, Q4 EPS $3.10 versus $2.82, and they're rising on this news. Earnings came in at a negative 6%, and this was a 10% earnings surprise. GE Healthcare files to sell 13 million shares of common stock for other holders. And interesting, it's actually up 0.3%. Trupanion, Q4 EPS loss of 5 cents versus estimate of 18 cents, and it's up nearly 9% on this news. Shockwave Medical, Q4 EPS $1.16 versus 89 cents. They moved up on this news on Friday, and I guess we're looking at the Friday. There was no news for today on earnings, apparently. Trupanion, Q4 EPS loss 5 cents versus 18 cents. They're moving up on this news. Ultragenics, Q4 EPS $1.52 versus estimate $1.62. A little bit of a pullback on that. Looked at GE Healthcare. GE Healthcare, 13 million share spot secondary price at 82.25. On to industrials and materials. Air Lease, Q4 EPS $1.92 versus $1.08. They're down slightly today. Ingersoll Rand, Q4 EPS 86 cents versus 77 cents. And Tronix Holdings, adjusted EPS 38 cents versus zero on the loss side, it looks like. Now they're actually 86 cents on the profit side. I'm not sure what happened with this news item. Applied Materials had a big move on Friday. EPS up $2.13. It's filling the gap today on profit taking and a little disappointment in some of the earnings for today. Home Depot is one of them. Cambian Networks, BM, Q4 EPS 95 cents versus 39-cent loss on both of those items, and it is filling the gap. Dropbox, San Francisco company, is nosediving today. Second day in a row. EPS 50 cents versus 48 cents. Globant, Q4 EPS $1.62 versus $1.61. and they continue diving today after they dove on the earnings last week. And we will let's take a look at Home Depot. Home Depot initially sold off and they're bouncing back. Earnings negative 15%. It was actually the guidance, I believe, initially pulled this down. Let's take a look at our routine here. Armstrong World Industries gapping up, earnings up 14%. Earnings surprise of negative 7%. Let's see what is up, 5%. Discover Financial Services on Capital One's purchase of them are gapping up 14%. Intercontinental Hotels gapping up as well on their earnings, up 22%. Northwest Natural is moving up. Earnings are in 3 days. Omron ADR up 6.16%. Pretty big blue volume. All of these, the volume is up 100%. Huidel Ortho up 7.76%. You can see it fell quite a bit on its earnings, but it's up pretty strong today. Sapiens International, Israel developer of software modernization and enterprise application integration, up pretty big on their 13% earnings beat. And Spartan-Nash really sold off on their earnings last week, but now they're bouncing back. And then let's see what's up 10%. Discover Financial Services is the one that's up 10%. So let's kind of take a look at core portfolio. Kava pull back to the 10-day moving average. It's bouncing a little bit. We're just kind of holding. We exercised on Saturday, 10 shares, 10 options for 1,000 shares at 49. Let's take a look at ELF Beauty. Pulled right past the 10-day moving average. We'll see if it comes down to the 20. See if it gets support there. Zscaler. Pull back to the 20-day moving average. Now it's bouncing. It's right around the 10-day moving average. I believe it was at 2. We'll just take a look here. Pulled back to 240.96 on the low. GitLab. It's a little under its 20-day moving average. We'll just see if it gets support at the 50. And if it doesn't, we'll just watch it, give it one or two more days. Let's see if we want to keep that on. We may take a little bit of a profit today. We'll just keep watching it here. Meta. Looks like it pulled back to the 10-day moving average. Pulled back to 466.56, and it's only off 1%, so it's not too bad. This is the new shares we added to the portfolio on the earnings. We had, I believe it was 5. Yeah, we had 5 options. And it converted those at 45, and it's currently trading at 56.92. Take a look at the 5-minute bar. Close down here, and then it's fighting back. It's right around 57. Let's take a look. Let's see if we covered all of our current holdings. Yeah, MicroStrategy is pulling back on Bitcoin pullback. So it's filled the gap here. We'll just continue to watch this. See if it comes down to the 10 or 20-day moving average. This is one that we added last week. We added at 374, I believe, and then at 380. NVIDIA has a big investment in them for their Sound AI platform. So we'll continue to watch that one. Look at some of our option plays. We rolled over Celsius. We had a 57.62 or 61 option. We rolled it over to 62.67. It's still in the money, but it has pulled back a lot today. So take a look at ARM. Did pull back a lot, pull back to the 10-day moving average. We put on a 118, 122 spread on that pullback. We'll see if that kind of fills in there. And this is a new one we put on today, SEMR. The market is going down, and this is defying the odds. It's up about 7 cents here. This is a marketing company, provides SaaS platform to run SEO, site engine optimization, pay-per-click content, social media, and competitive research campaigns. So that is that. Look at a couple of other items in our other account. Weatherford, they were the stock of the day with Investors Business Daily. I believe we put this on around 90. Originally, we put this on at 65. We got out on the news from Saudi Arabia and then got back in on the earnings. It was Investors Business Daily stock of the day. And so Netflix definitely got a pullback here today, pulling back to the 10-day moving average, kind of like the rest of the market, down about 2%. Let's take a look at the FANG stocks. Apple is diving below its 200-day moving average, down full 1%. Microsoft pulling below its 20-day moving average, down to 400. Let's see if it pulls back to the 50-day moving average. We looked at Netflix. Take a look at NVIDIA. We looked at Meta. Got a big pullback in NVIDIA today. See if it comes down to the 20-day moving average. I believe the earnings are tomorrow. Google actually bouncing a little bit here, up 0.44%. Tesla, we did close some options when it hit 200. We had the 190-200 on last week. When it moved up above 200, we closed those. And it's pulling back to 191 today. So we got Facebook, Apple, Netflix, Google. I think we touched on everything. We'll take a look at Eli Lilly, some who believe should be in the big cap tech index. They're pulling back to the 10-day moving average. Let's take a look at our ETFs, financials, pull back to the 10-day and are bouncing. Energy, they're pulling back here after a strong move on Thursday, a little bit of pullback on Friday, continues today. US oil fund is pulling back a little bit. Look at the natural gas numbers. We're pulling back 1.7% here. Communications, where Google and Meta are in, slight pullback 0.32%. We got utilities. One utility stock that we like to follow is pulling back here a little bit. PG&E is actually bouncing up 1.37%. Real estate sold off, trying to get back to its 20-day moving average. The biotech index, big sell-off there. And the other biotech is well down to its 50-day moving average. Software pulling back below its 20-day. Looks like it may be coming for the 50-day. Take a look. Hubs was trying to move up and they pulled back today. Salesforce pulling back 1.25. Technology pulling back below its 200-day moving average. Infrastructure got a little bit of a bounce off the 10-day here, although it did gap down today. Airlines got a little bit of a bounce up 0.3%. I would imagine the semiconductors are down with NVIDIA down so much. Leisure are gapping down as well to the 10-day moving average. Industrials pulling, looks like they're getting a bounce off the 10-day. They pull back and bouncing. Healthcare is diving here, down 0.27%. Consumer cyclical actually got a nice bounce here. Looks like they're almost ready to break out. Building materials, pretty flat. Actually, a slight pullback, 0.21%, down to 85. Metals and mining, a big gap down below the 20 and 10-day moving average. Like I said, the best place to buy this is when it hits a low, and then it'll pull back up right over here, kind of bounce and gapped up. When it hit this peak, this would be a great place to sell. And right here, buy off of the 50-day moving average, and then sell, I guess, right about here. Did bounce, but now it's kind of pulling back. Home builders sold off and are bouncing off of the 20-day moving average. They're down 0.29%. And FANG, I believe, would be down pretty hard, and it is down nearly 7.5%. Pull back to its 20-day moving average. So I'd wait for this to create a base, just kind of see where this goes. If it gets a bounce off of the 20-day, it might be a quick trade, but pulling back this severely, I'd wait a little bit and just see if it can form a base. So that's our report for today. Nothing too excited to get about the market. We'll just have to wait and see. Earnings and NVIDIA are going to hold a big thing for the market. We'll see how that comes out. And hopefully we get a little bit of a bounce tomorrow, but that's our report. Hope you get a bounce in your step today on this Monday. We got a little respite from the rain for a little bit. See if it comes back. Keep going for your goals and your activities. If you have any financial goals or activities you'd like to talk about, we're here to listen. Hope you have a great day. And this is Mornings with Michael for information and educational purposes only. It is your responsibility to do your own due diligence.